everybody, I'm back. Big surprise, right? I did say I was going to do another video. I'm going to talk about some movies that are vampire based. I made a short little list. It doesn't include everything I want to talk about, but that's what I could think of at the time. So these are some of my favorites. I have a whole huge box full of videos, like DVDs and stuff, that are all vampire, mostly vampire. And a lot of these I haven't even watched. Like I have this 4-pack that I've never watched any of them. It's still in the shrink wrap. So, I mean, maybe I could do another one if I get some of these watched and I can tell you what I think. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to think what's the best way to do these. Should I go, like, old movies to newer movies? Maybe? That might be the easier way to do it, because these aren't in any particular order anyway. The first one, obviously, is going to be Nosferatu, the first film vampire, from 1920... I want to say 22. That may or may not be correct. It's a silent movie. Count Orlok from Transylvania is brought in, comes in on a ship. All the character names are different than Dracula, but it is basically a Dracula story. Bram Stoker's widow said, "No way, absolutely not. You're not making this movie." They made the movie. And then there's like lawsuits and stuff, and they supposedly destroyed all copies of the movie, which is obviously not true because we can still watch it. So that somehow movies have gotten out and we can still watch them. There was a remake in the 70s, so it had sound, and I believe it was in color as well. The original version was black and white silent movie. I think that's the better version, personally. But, you know, I don't mind a silent movie. I don't mind a black and white movie, so, you know. But the 70s, they did a remake of it, and it's pretty good. I mean, you know, it's definitely worth a watch. If you don't like silent movies, watch the newer one. Then there's the movie Shadow of a Vampire, which is about the making of Nosferatu. It's got Willem Dafoe playing the Max Schreck character, and Max Schreck was the actor who played Nosferatu in the original Murnau version. So, I mean, it's very, very, I guess, meta, in a way. But Nosferatu is definitely probably the earliest. I believe it was the first vampire movie to be filmed. And then that brings us to one of my favorites, Dracula. This is the Legacy Collection. Bela Lugosi, 1931, Universal Pictures. This collection has the 1931 Dracula with the original score, and then there's a version of the 1931 Dracula with a score by Philip Glass, which I don't think I've ever listened to it with the Philip Glass score. There's a bunch of documentaries about the making of, the theatrical trailers. The second disc, side 1, has Dracula, the Spanish version, which they filmed at the same time that they were making the English version, with different actors. But they used the same set and basically the same script. One was in English, one was in Spanish. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. And then 1936, Dracula's Daughter. And then trailers for Dracula's Daughter and Son of Dracula. Side 2. Disc 2, Side 2 has Son of Dracula and House of Dracula. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different movies, plus a whole bunch of extras, documentaries, and features, and it's a really nice collection. I highly recommend. I someplace have the Frankenstein one as well, and I don't know why it wasn't with the Dracula one. Who knows? Who knows? My life is chaos. From there, on my list of things I wanted to talk about, is probably Love at First Bite, which is a retelling of Dracula, sort of. Dracula is played by oh frick, I forgot his name. I can see him. George Hamilton. He's famous for having a tan, okay? Dracula in this movie, Love at First Bite, is the tannest vampire I have ever seen. It's obviously a comedy. Dracula wakes up in Transylvania. The communist ruling people are like, hey, you have to abandon your castle. We're going to take it and turn it into a gymnastics training camp. You're out. So he comes to New York, where he meets this woman and falls in love with her, and then it's a whole thing about the pursuit of this woman. And then, oh crap, I forgot his name too. Benjamin something. Plays the girl's, like, boyfriend. And she becomes taken with Dracula, and he's become the vampire hunter character. Only he's Jewish, so there's a scene where instead of holding up a crucifix, he holds up the Star of David, and Dracula's like, huh? And he's like, darn, it's the other one, isn't it? I always get that mixed up. It was funny. Just quirky little scenes like that. It's funny. It's a kind of, I guess you'd say, a romantic comedy, Dracula retelling mishmash of craziness. It's one of my favorites. I absolutely love that movie. Then there's The Lost Boys from the 80s. I want to say it's like 85 or 86 is when it came out. I'm not sure the exact year, but I was in high school. Because I'm old. So I remember when it first came out. Kiefer Sutherland is probably the hottest vampire. He is just, yeah. Vampires don't sparkle because they're Kiefer Sutherland. Okay, he's my guy. He's my vampire. Although, when Vampire Diaries came out on TV, Damon was pretty hot. Ian Somerhalder, but he's way too young for me. At least, Kiefer Sutherland's my age range. Anyway, like anything's ever gonna happen. Absolutely love Lost Boys. There's some brothers are moving with their mom, who I guess is recently divorced. They're moving to her uncle's house. I think it's uncle. In Santa Carla, California. Michael, the older brother, gets mixed up with a group of vampires. And Sam, his younger brother, gets mixed up with the Frog Brothers, Edgar and Alan Frog. Gee, I wonder how they got their names. Any Poe references? I guess Lygia is the closest thing to a vampire story from Poe that I can think of off the top of my head anyway. Anyway, the Frog Brothers are anti-vampire. They're completely aware that there's vampires in Santa Carla, and they, work at this comic book store that's owned by their parents, and they convince Sam that there's vampires, and then Michael starts turning into a vampire, so Sam's all panicking, so the Frog Brothers and Sam go to fight the vampires to rescue Michael. Meanwhile, Mom meets this guy named Max, who runs the video store, which is hysterical because we used to rent videos from Max's Video when I was growing up. Yeah. So the first time I saw Lost Boys, we rented it from Max's Video, so that's kind of very bizarre meta thing there. Turns out Max is the head vampire, and chaos ensues. Absolutely love The Lost Boys. It is definitely among my favorites. I talked about Dracula 1931, But there was also a Dracula version that came out in the 1990s. I want to say 1992, maybe ish. Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's the one with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder and Gary Oldman as Dracula and Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing, and it's pretty good. Relatively faithful to the book. There's some stuff added, like the whole backstory of Dracula's wife at the beginning, where they try to, give you some historical context. Pretty good adaptation, actually. Probably more faithful to the book than the 1931 Dracula. But, I mean, come on. Bela Lugosi. Seriously. Bela Lugosi. He is the Dracula. And everybody tries to copy him, pretty much. But then, Bram Stoker's Dracula, he kind of did his own thing. And you have multiple versions of Dracula, where he's the old man, and then he's the young vampire, and he turns into some kind of weird wolf creature. But it's very well done. So that, I'll say is an honorable mention. If you want a Dracula movie, I personally think the original Bela Lugosi Dracula is the way to go. There's several other ones. I didn't even mention Frank Langella's version. There's a Jack Palance version. I feel like I'm missing one that's somewhere in between there. Dracula is one of those, it just, they keep remaking it and remaking it and remaking it. One of these days they're going to get it right. And be faithful to the book. Around a similar time period as the Bram Stoker's Dracula was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I held this up in the TV vampire video because I couldn't get to my Buffy one. My TV set. Anyway, I loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It made me so happy. Christy Swanson is Buffy. Donald Sutherland plays Merrick. Is that his name? Does it say? Of course it doesn't tell. I think his name was Merrick. Plays the Watcher. Luke Perry from Beverly Hills 90210, more recently Riverdale, recently passed away, played the love interest. Who else is on here? Rutger Hauer was the Vampire King Lothos, who is the big bad that she fights at the end, and he has a sidekick named Lefty, played by Paul Reubens, better known as Pee Wee Herman. This was after he got into all his trouble for doing things in an adult theater that he shouldn't have been doing in an adult theater, but that you kind of expect to happen in an adult theater because of the kind of movies they're watching. I'm sure you can figure out what he got in trouble for. We'll just say indecent exposure and leave it at that, but it was a little more than just that. And he is hysterical in this. I didn't like the character of Pee Wee Herman, but in this, he is hysterical. I really enjoyed him, which I never thought I would say, what's her name? Hilary Swank is in this. This is before she started doing, like, Boys Don't Cry and $1 Million Baby, which she was up for Oscars for. She plays basically an airhead cheerleader type. But it's what we got instead of the TV show, and then once this was kind of a hit, they allowed Joss Whedon to go and make the TV show, but then they screwed up the timeline, because they're all seniors in high school in the movie, but in the TV show, she's younger than that. But she's moving from that school to the new school. I don't know how that works. Somewhere in there, late 80s, early 90s, was a movie called Innocent Blood, where you got a female vampire out killing people. She kind of gets involved with the cop that's investigating the crime. I clearly remember one scene that just cracked me up so much. They find this dead body, and the coroner medical examiner guy is there, And the cop asks him, what happened? He's like, well, blood loss. Massive blood loss. I'd say he's about 5 quarts low. And I thought that was hysterical. Anyway, I guess you have to see it to get it. I thought that one was a fun one. And more recently, we have family-friendly stuff. We've got Hotel Transylvania and the several sequels that follow it. Adam Sandler plays Dracula in this one. And his daughter, Mavis, is played by Selena Gomez. Dracula owns a hotel, the Hotel Transylvania. And all the monsters can come there, and it's a safe haven for the monsters. So you've got, like, the Frankenstein monster, and you've got the mummy and the Wolfman and his family, and all his herd of pups. I mean, there are a ton of them. They're all over everywhere. There's an invisible man who likes to be naked, and everybody's like, you can't be naked, like, you can't see me, so how do you know if I'm naked or not? Kind of a thing. But it's funny. Absolutely worth the first one or two are definitely worth it. The most recent one was put out on Amazon Prime, and it doesn't have Adam Sandler as Dracula, and it's not as good as the other 3. There's Hotel Transylvania 2, and then there's the one where they go on the cruise ship, so that's the 3rd one, I think. And then the 4th one, they're running around America looking for Dracula because he left, or he and I want to say Johnny. Is that his name? He and the human end up somehow switching bodies. I don't know. It's weird. They end up in America running around searching for everybody, and it wasn't as good. Decent premise, but the follow-through wasn't as good. That's just a handful of vampire movies that I enjoyed. I'm going to stop here because, I could keep going. And some of these I haven't watched yet, so I may have more to talk about later on if I find enough time to watch them. I want to talk about some other horror movies and some other videos, so there will be more about movies and things, so I might be able to include them later on. I've got some more bookish things I want to talk about. So at this rate, hopefully we can get a pretty good amount of spooky season going on here in October. Or it's, the 4th today, so this is like the 4th video I've recorded for spooky season. Thursday, I believe, is the first day of the book sale at the library, so fingers crossed I find some goodies. So yeah, I need to eat my dinner and then get ready to go to work, because it's midnight to 8 a.m. tonight. See you later. Remember to do all the YouTube things, comment, like, share, subscribe. Ring the bell icon to be notified of future uploads, maybe. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.